Hi again. So, a topic I may have touched on just a little, and we'll probably talk about a lot more in the future, is this idea of objective and subjective consciousness, and a dualistic universe and a non dualistic universe. How do we approach this place of getting to understand what any of these things mean? A lot of people say prayer, right? Or meditation. And I think, like I've been talking about, for me at least, it's been tough times. Maybe also some really good times as well, climbing a mountain peak as well as going through extreme heartbreak. I mean, everything, again, becomes equal in a way. I often thought of this idea that I wanted all of life to become prayer. So I would repeat mantras as I went to bed, and I'd wake up with them still on my lips. And, it felt good, but it also felt kind of superficial. And I didn't know that. But as time went on, these things would fade. The prayers would just be repetitious. And the sense of wanting to give back to the world, that like bodhisattva sense of like holding the door open as everyone goes through, it also felt very painful. And I mean, shouldn't it? You're going to ask for something. Shouldn't it feel, or at least you would imagine, it would feel not the easiest thing to help people, get over their situations, to get through their situations, to have a better understanding about what life is about. Life is vast. And a lot of us live in our own little worlds. And a lot of us are different people to other people. Even the way some people look at us, like the way your mom thinks about you, is probably a lot better or a lot worse, depending, right, on what a lot of people know you, currently think about you. It's interesting. To really get to a place where you could start to see the world as it is. I've mentioned this over and over and over, but it's just so true. You got to be fearless. There's so much that can trip you up. The slightest amount of jealousy, the smallest twinge of dislike, as you get deeper into yourself, those little things become huge. Your little fears become so real that you wonder how you could have let that go on for so long, how you could have treated yourself that way for so long. It really sucks to see people who are deep in their addiction to hurting themselves. When you walk down this path of realization, it's kind of like dying. It's allowing the ego to take not even a small death, but honestly a pretty big one. You realize that person you've been holding on to, that you imagine to be yourself, is kind of just a ghost. We live our lives over and over, and we create these sort of patterns. We allow certain energies into us to, in our mind, become us. We don't even realize it. It's so subtle. And we get these ideas of who we are, and it's just not even close to the truth. For a lot of people, they've never actually even met themselves. They've never really got a good look of at their chain. And that death kind of experience right? Sure, it's scary. It's really scary. You get used to it over time. But those pitfalls come because you always think you figured it out, right? You always think like, oh, I see it, right? Like I understand. There's a sense of being attuned. You start to recognize like what's going to happen before it does, and we all have that to a point, but it like becomes more open as we get closer to our subconscious, as we get closer to activating the large portion of our brain that we don't use because we're scared of it. I'm going to talk about that quite a bit, probably in an upcoming video. I have just on this serpent kick, that energy down there in the nervous system is so incredible, and I don't think we treat it right, but maybe not for the reasons a lot of people would say, right? A lot of people would say that you need to calm down your nervous system. I'm not saying we all need to be in panic, but we are dull. We can't use all our senses like we are. And I mean, it's a real shame because we could be doing so much more. A human existence is a very amazing thing. I talked about limiting beliefs in one of my the first videos I made on this channel, and limiting beliefs, yeah, they definitely are a thing. They're the vikalpas, the things that hold us from creating what we want. And so in ways we should limit those limiting beliefs, but for the limiting beliefs that we do have, we need to express those unconditionally. We need to have such firm limits for the limits that we do express. First one is immovable faith. That is so key to fearlessness. If you have faith, especially in God, if you have faith, especially in something divine and sacred, then you know that you always have somewhere to turn to. That no matter what happens, you can't be hurt because you're protected by your Lord. We also need to have some sort of wisdom, some sort of knowledge even. It's wonderful to be able to empty our minds and to be able to be in a neutral place. But we also need to have an understanding about the vibrational nature of the universe and how the words we use actually do shape our reality. The words we write down, the words we think, the words we say to each other, the words we think about each other, all of these are sacred sounds. And we use them recklessly. It's okay. I mean, I talk a lot too, and it's shaping everyone's world, just as all of your words are shaping my world too. It's just how things are when you look at it. But we need to be able to control that a little bit more. And it's not really up to us. Again, I said I'd talk about it in a later video, but it's up to that lower brain energy, that brainstem energy, even the amygdala down there and the nervous system for sure. When we don't have a good connection to that part of ourselves, we can't hear our body. We can't even hear our words. We can't hear the people around us. Another thing that we need to have knowledge of is something that I'm calling void elements. So there are aspects of reality as a whole that go to shape our nature, that go to put things together, that is like a natural order that comes just from existence. And that part of ourself, of our being, is very difficult to access. It's to start, having that understanding of the vibrational nature starts to lead us to the subconscious, but in the space where you balance your elements, it's like you're putting your hand into a dark hole and just hoping you don't get bit. But honestly, some of the things in there are meant to bite you for you to be able to have a truer understanding of them. Another unconditional limit we have or that is useful to have is being able to let go, being able to release. When you're in a process that feels like you're dying, and the war in our brains between the conscious and the subconscious aspects reveals itself, shows itself, you have to be able to let go of everything. You have to be able to let go of your history. You have to be able to let go of all your relationships. You have to be able to let go of your sense of self. That doesn't mean you actually have to let go of those things, but it's possible. And you have to be aware that we could die at any moment physically. We could be gone from this plane of reality any second. And if we don't live with the knowledge of that, then we can't actually do anything. If we're scared to accept a release, then we can't actually start to live life. We need to have a sense of creativity, because when you're letting go and you're releasing all these aspects of yourself, all these false patterns that let a ghost live inside of your being, just a memory of who you want to be or wanted to be when you didn't even have a good idea of how to use your brain. This is something that was passed on to us over and over and over. And so when you have a sense of creativity, you can structure a new self, not just with the thoughts of like, I want to be this type of person or I want to be that type of person. You kind of let the things you create fill in the gaps for you, and you just naturally become a reflection of what you're creating in your life. We do anyway. If we don't put that creativity into actual creative projects, then that creativity turns around on us, and we realize that the creations we make are not beautiful. And aesthetics, like you tell by the title of this channel, right? Aesthetics are important. Aesthetics are how God enjoys itself, how the divine, how the universe sees itself in wonder through our eyes. And so be beautiful, right? And make beautiful things. And the last thing that to really tap into this is a sense of spontaneity, a sense of being able to do things at a moment's notice because your heart is calling for you to do it. The whole universe sometimes is telling you to do this thing, and that doesn't mean you have to do it if the whole universe is telling you, but sometimes you just should do that thing. And sometimes you just shouldn't. The spontaneity makes it so that your ability to accept the constant change, the constant flux of the universe is a gift. You become an aspect of that flux. And as you can see it come at you and you can transition, then it becomes a dance with all your good moments and all your bad moments. You're free to live life. If you don't choose to listen to any of this and, just keep living life the way that you have been, the cycles that we have been on are just keep getting worse and worse and worse. I was at the very limit there. My cycles have become so bad, I'm like amazed that I made it out alive. And in some ways I did it, right? In some ways, the self that I was has definitely been subsumed inside of my own being so that I can go from such a hard time to one of the brightest times in my life. And the ability to know that no matter what comes my way, it will always continue to be a bright time in my life. You enter this place that is eternal. I've talked about that, and I probably should do even more about it, because time kind of stops. And when you could catch time in a really good spot, it's a great place to stop, and you could still grow from there. There's still a sense of chronology. There's still a sense of a story. There's still stories that we've been told that need to conclude. And that really is something that is useful to understand. That these stories we've started also need to finish for a sense of being able to let go, to release. And I know throughout my life, I've told story after story after story. And I continue to. I don't know, I love stories. I love living. I love experiencing. And I love taking the time to get there. That's one of the pitfalls too. There really is no shortcuts. That even if you step outside fully of time, enter a state where you're kind of experiencing what might seem like non-duality, you're also being wrapped up in Maya at that very same moment. You're also just playing into the game and oftentimes not realizing it. The thing that you notice, at least that I've noticed, that really changed was that it went from trying to practice all the time, trying to see all of life as a ceremony, trying to see all of life as one constant prayer, as one experience of meditation. It goes from this effort to this effortlessness. And it's like you're peeking behind what's right in front of us. Again, like a lot of us live in this conscious, this reasonable part of the brain. And we put our intuition down and we throw our instincts in the corner and say that they're a bad thing. It's wild. It's wild the way that we treat our subconscious mind when it has so much value. And we're literally just doing it to ourselves. And we try to feed ourselves this and that to make ourselves calmer so that we can't experience life, so that we're not alert, so that we're not aware, truly aware to the amazing nature of this cosmos. It does get intense though, right? Like we get so used to this coddled life that it really is intense. It really is a ride. But I mean, we ride roller coasters, right? Those are fun. And I would say that this is fun despite the intensity. The intensity is so cool every single little moment. Cleaning the house, right? Doing prayers, making these videos, taking notes, reading a book, going to work, sweeping the floor. Everything becomes such an engaging and immersive experience. And you see God in every single moment of it. You see so many levels of reality as you start to connect with yourself more and more and more and really get to start being yourself again. The spontaneity becomes part of life. If it's not there, it's almost like what's happening, and then you realize that's part of the spontaneity too. Sometimes it's literally not there, right? That's spontaneous. As you move along and you hit these barriers of fear and doubt and judgment and envy, all the kleshas, right? You'll hit this wall, and a lot of times it does kind of like collapse inside of you, but inside of your subconscious. And so over and over, we see levels, we see truths, we see layers about reality, and we don't know how to handle this as a conscious being, as a reasonable person, based on the patterns that society has given us. And so we get scared, and we try to ignore it, and we forget it. Eventually, though, if you tell yourself you know that you don't want to forget, you won't forget. It's as simple as that. It's kind of like, when you go to sleep and you tell yourself that you're going to remember your dreams. It's kind of like that. You might not know what's coming, when the next time is coming, that you are going to be able to peek through the nature to reality a little bit more. But you could set out that intention right now. You could send up that prayer right now that I will remember next time I see. And if it's scary, there are people who can help me understand what is happening. Because I promise you, this is happening to everyone. And it happens to everyone all the time. And it's always happened to everyone all the time. Something that I thought important to write down was the idea that space does not move. Only objects within space move. The most beautiful experience is found when what collapses is non-duality. Non-duality becomes this experience that you kind of have to stick your fingers in, stick your toes into, right? It's kind of like the void. And so you stick your toes a little into the void and you get some information, some understanding, but it's so piecemeal. Eventually, that non-dualistic world collapses into the dualistic world, where the ultimate experience, the ultimate reality is right here, right now, and you can be yourself. Life is truly great, and we know it is. And I'm excited to keep walking forward. And as long as it takes, right? You make a vow forever, well, what are you going to do? So I'm here holding the door open with everyone else. So I hope you all have a great night, and I will be sending another message here soon. Love you. Bye.